Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. And welcome back to Solo RPG Friday. And today I am super excited to be joined by Paul from Stoneaxe Tabletop Gaming. How's it going, Paul?
Hi, it's but going good, going
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah, I'm super happy to have you on the channel. I know some people have been looking forward to a conversation between us for some time now.
good to know.
You're one of I think probably one of my like top five guys on YouTube that focuses on solo role playing. So
Right.
yeah, and we oddly have a lot of things in common.
Hmm.
I know you do some of the music for your channel.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
you are
all of it.
all of it. Yeah, and you are
Mm.
also a musician.
Yeah, mainly for copyright reasons. I think I do mine. But the main theme, I recorded that back in 2007 on PlayStation Music.
Oh, is that really? That's what that was on
Yeah,
PlayStation Music?
that's what
Yeah,
that's
that's
from.
cool.
And when I changed it for technical video reasons, I did get some complaints, and I was asked to change it back, so I did.
People liked the old style, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah, people like comfort. People like returning to like the kind of like the same thing over and over again on
Mm.
YouTube or just having that. But yeah, I checked out some of your Bandcamp music and I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know
Oh,
if you're
cool.
familiar with the group Trash Can Sinatras.
No, no, I know you've mentioned them.
Yeah, yeah, your
Mm.
stuff kind of reminded me. I think they're a Scottish group
Right.
and they kind of like a almost like an acoustic Smiths kind
Oh,
of kind of thing. But really, yeah. So I don't know. Your stuff kind of reminded me of them. Um but anyways, I like to always start off these conversations with asking about what's on your hobby table right now. What have you been spending your hobby time with?
I have been spending my hobby time in Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, really?
Um,
Yeah. A first time
yeah,
play, a first time through, or is this a repeat play?
this is my first time. I don't really keep up to date with video games.
Hmm.
I have an Atari Jaguar behind me here, so
Yeah,
that's
but you
about
you actually
as
have an
modern
Atari
as I get.
Jaguar, really?
Yeah, and Nintendo 64. Those are
Uh-huh.
my previously most modern machines.
Yeah, yeah.
But as Fallout New Vegas was on sale, I thought maybe, just maybe, my computer can handle it, and it can.
Yep.
So I've been lost in it. I love it.
That's a really good game.
Hmm.
Did you choose the there's one perk, I think it's called the Wild Wasteland or something, where just random
I think
crazy
I did.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think I did
love
put
that.
that.
That I wish more games had that. It's because that's like
Hmm.
the kind of stuff I like in board games and RPGs where just random crazy stuff happens.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
you can just wander around where you like, and it's horrible things shoot at you. It's
Yeah.
brilliant fun. Yeah.
I've never beaten it. I've
Mm.
have many hours. I don't think I've ever I don't think I've ever finished a single Bethesda game,
Right.
even though I have probably over 1,000 hours in Skyrim. I've never even come close to finishing that. I've never even gotten past like the first quarter of the main story. And in New Vegas, yeah, whenever I play New Vegas, I just head out in a random direction and, and kind of see what happens.
Yeah, you can usually end up finding something interesting to do wherever you go.
Yeah, yeah. I've been spending my time with Forbidden Psalm.
Oh yes, I saw the
Yeah.
video today.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot. I have had so much fun with this
Mhm.
and combining this with Borg. It's just been a lot of fun. I love how simple it is. And it just the rules never get in the way of me having fun.
Mm. Yeah, I'd been looking at some skirmish games, but not. I can't quite get to grip with it yet.
What have you been
Um,
looking at?
I had a look at Exploit Zero, the cyberpunk one,
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one.
and it just. I've not got my head around it. I'm still feeling like the AI in Star Saga, which was a bit fuzzy.
Yeah.
I'm still feeling that fuzziness when it comes to skirmish games at the moment. So I need something to gamify it more for me, I think, if I'm going to do it solo.
Yeah. Have you looked into the Dark Venture Battle of the Ancients? Have you looked into
No,
that at all?
no, but I
That
do.
that that could be your avenue. Yeah.
I do have Dark Venture on the way for the next Kickstarter. So sometime
Yeah.
over the
Cool.
summer, I guess.
Yeah.
Couldn't resist the artwork.
Yeah. Oh, I know it's so good. I love the
Mhm.
artwork. I know you and I, we both like kind of an odder, weirder style of art. Or
Yes.
we can appreciate all art, but I know in our hearts, we both kind of like art that I think some people could say is ugly
Yeah, I mean,
or not, not professional.
well, Tom Vassell talked about Escape the Dark Castle, and he said it was an awful looking game.
I know.
But I think it's great.
I know that I was like, what is he talking
I
about?
don't.
And he's old. He's like as old as us.
Mhm.
He comes from that era of
Yeah, fighting fantasy and all
fighting
that.
fantasy and
Yeah.
Gary Chalk and all that stuff. So I would think that he would be like a perfect target for that kind of art. But
Yeah, but there you go.
yeah, I guess not. But yeah, so I wanted to start off the conversation proper with and we'll kind of see where this goes. But I've spent a couple years. I think I discovered your channel a couple years ago, so I have watched everything, probably multiple times.
Mhm.
And I gather from your commentary that you do like to split your time between playing solo and with a group. Is that
Um,
a fair assessment?
when possible and when I
Mhm.
have the time. I haven't run anything since October as far as group gaming goes, but 2020 and 2021, when I was mostly working from home, I had more time.
Yeah,
So and everybody else in the world had more time.
yeah.
So it was kind of easier to get a group together online and start playing something. But yeah, we had our local group before lockdown, and it's sort of started up again a little bit now. So we do get some real life gaming in sometimes as well.
Did that local group did that transition to a virtual group, or was your virtual group a new group of people?
The local group tried to transition into a virtual group, but it didn't last more than
Okay,
2 sessions really.
yeah,
And so I started the new group, and we did Basic Fantasy campaign, and then I got a different group together the next year to do Mutant Crawl Classics, which is the longest campaign I've run.
how long was that?
23
Oh
sessions or so.
wow, oh that's awesome.
For Mutant Crawl Classics, it's not bad.
Yeah, was that
Very
like
fatal game.
how many PC deaths did you have?
Not nearly enough. I should have been more harsh with them. They all had about, almost all of them had 2 characters each, and that's, I didn't work hard enough at wiping them out. I don't think I
Yeah,
should have tried hard.
yeah. So 23 sessions. Yeah, we had a really good. So yeah, when lockdown hit here, my real life group did transition to Roll 20,
Hmm.
and we continued for about a year and a half, and we played our second campaign of Ravenloft. We would do kind of a truncated Ravenloft where we would
Right.
try to do the whole thing in like 4 or 5 sessions. And then we did some old RPG, some old D&D module, some old classic dungeon crawl module. I'm not a big fan of modules, and especially the old ones, especially the old dungeon crawls. There's just like they're not very interesting to me. There's a lot of empty, a lot of just walking from one room
Yeah,
to the next.
I
And
guess Chuck, one of my Basic Fantasy players, he took us through Castle Amber,
I don't
and
know that one.
oh, that's not empty corridors. It's all
Okay,
sorts of
yeah.
weird stuff going on. So that was really good fun. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, but some of the old school style modules can seem a bit empty. There's a really, really long corridor and a secret entrance which the elf spots, and then you step through and there's a trap. And you think, well, there's a secret entrance. Why does it need a trap as well?
Yeah. A double secret.
It's a bit much, but yeah, it's from a different time. When I've run adventures written in that style, I will just hack them to pieces and just get rid of the wandering about. So here's an interesting thing that happens, and then here's the next interesting thing that happens. You don't have to walk for ages, and I'll describe how you walk down the corridor.
Exactly. So, do you have a lot of experience with old modules? Like when you played D&D back in the day, did you guys play, or when you played any role-playing game, did you play pre-written modules, or did you tend to just kind of like make up your own campaign settings?
Not years ago. I didn't think I'd be able to run pre-written adventures very well, so I just make them up.
Yeah, I always found them
the opposite.
Oh, are you really? So I always found that, like growing up, when I was in high school and before, I always found pre-written modules. I didn't understand how they worked.
It's a lot to take in, isn't it, when you're younger? Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, wait, what? Like, well, how do I make how do the players know where to go? It's like, I could never get a grip on pre-written modules, and all of my groups, we just always made up our own. So I don't have I know a lot of players our age and stuff, they look back fondly and they have these fond memories of certain modules, and they'll all call them by like that number, the TSR. And I don't know any of them. Like, I have no clue.
I've got the compilation of the basic
right.
B1 to B9 or whatever it is. But I've not launched through it. I've read the bulk of In Search of the Unknown.
Yep.
And I had that for years. But it's just a really odd adventure to read through. You think, what on earth is going on?
Yeah.
But it was designed to be fairly empty, so that the DM would fill bits in and make it their own kind of thing. But it does feel like you're wandering around a weird, empty sort of catacombs.
Yeah. So you said now you tend to gravitate towards pre-written modules, and is that both when you are running a game for people? Why is that? What made you gravitate?
Well, I got back into role playing a few years ago through Dungeon Crawl Classics, and they've got some of the best writers around.
Yeah,
and so when you use one of their modules, you're in safe hands, and there's going to be plenty for the players to enjoy.
Yeah,
and so I feel really confident in what I'm running, and I ran a one shot of Those Dark Places as well, and Jonathan Hicks has written some really good adventures for that. So if I feel comfortable that the writer is really, really good, then I'm far more happy running something that somebody else has written.
That's really interesting. Confidence. I talked a little bit about that, I think, in my review for a board game, Sleeping Gods. And when I opened up that box, the first thing I saw was a rule summary from Universal Head. And they did a professional inbox rule summary that came with the game. And when I saw that, I was immediately, my confidence level in the game grew exponentially. Because I knew that if it had that rule summary, it was going to be something that I could turn to if I ever needed a refresh, and I wouldn't have to read through the whole manual. But yeah, that's a really good point of how documentation can build confidence and just make things easier for you to get played.
Yeah, I mean, when you're asking people to invest 2 or 3 hours of their lives with you, I want to feel that, I've got stuff that you're going to enjoy stuff out of this. If it's well written by Brendan Lassalle or Michael Curtis or Marzio Mascadere or somebody like that, Stephen Newton or Tim Snyder, one of the really good Goodman Games writers.
Yeah, they do have a good stable of writers. I'm not the biggest fan of this DCC system, but I love their books. And I love their modules. I love the art. I buy them just to look at them.
Yeah.
For me personally, I find the system a little too fiddly.
Yes. The fights can slow down. I mean, they say, the modern Dragon game as we'll call it, is slows down in combat and
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
even DCC slows down quite a bit. You know, you've got your warrior is rolling their deed die, adding it to their to hit die, as well as their bonuses, and then they also then you don't touch that D die, because when you roll the damage, you add that D die to your damage as well.
Yeah.
And then if you get a crit, you have to roll on your
crit table.
Yep. And if you roll the fumble, you have to roll on the fumble table. And if you have to roll your specific die on the fumble table, depending on what arm you're wearing. And it's often the case where sometimes games that try to streamline things bring in their own complications on top, because it's like they feel, oh dear, we've stripped away too much. This is too easy now. Let's make people work for it again.
Add some complexity back into it.
Yes.
That's funny. You mentioned the D game, and I completely forgot I was going to start off this conversation with a joke saying like, hey, welcome to our 3-hour conversation on the OGL from two people that have no experience and no...
you can only talk about that if you start the video with, this isn't the video I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And then you can talk about the OGL. So.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so tired of seeing videos on the OGL. On the OGL.
You have to delete them from your history, otherwise they'll keep popping up again.
Yeah.
Bit much.
So you also balance your time playing solo, and how much of your solo time is spent on camera versus how much is spent off camera? Or do you just film everything? Or everything that we see, is that all of your solo time?
Almost.
Yeah.
When I started, I did a Swords and Wizardry campaign. That was before I got into the YouTube stuff. But most of it now is, if I feel confident in fairly confident in at least the experiment might be interesting to somebody, they might think, oh, that's an idea. Then I'll probably film it. But if it goes wrong, I'll just junk it.
Have you ever had a really killer session that you didn't film?
I don't think so.
No?
I usually try to film them just in case they turn up decent. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a couple where I was like, oh man, I wish I was filming this right now. Like, oh well, I'll just talk about it after. Do you like to use solo play to kind of learn about systems that you want to run for other people? Would you say, is that your main focus in solo play, is to kind of like exercise your chops?
Yeah, I think the first time I did it was, I started doing videos about obscure games.
Yeah.
The first one being Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Then I was desperate to do Dragon Roar, because I'd always been fascinated with the Dragon Roar. I never had it. Then I was able to get it. And I just wanted to show people how it worked and what it was all about. If anybody had heard of it and they thought, oh, I wonder what kind of game that is. It is.
That's the one with the really cool hex map? You showed
No. That was Battle of the Halgi.
Okay, yeah.
This is Dragon Roar.
Dragon Roar. That's right, yeah.
With the cassettes inside.
The cassette, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I just came up with a short little intro. All the wizard wants you to go and find a thing. So these 3 characters went out, and I could show the combat, and I could show a bit of magic. There's not much in the way of magic in there. Not many spells at all. 8. So show a little bit of how things worked. And that was the first sort of bit of solo role-playing I did, I think. And so it sort of grew from there. But, learning how a system works in order to show it to people, if they're interested in, they might like it. If they find it's a bit like D&D, or a bit not like D&D, or just to give people an idea of what it's like, and help me to understand it as well. And from doing all the solo stuff, when I finally came to run a group game again in 2019, I think it was, I was a lot better than I would have been if I hadn't have done all that solo role-playing. So it does really help you learn to improvise and deal with random things that turn up that you need to handle, and get used to the rules as well.
Yeah, I don't run a lot of games for people. The last thing that we ran together was probably at the beginning of last year, we started playing Borg as a co-op, and we shared duties as DM. We would just kind of pass the solitary defilement book around, and kind of whoever had the book at the time was the GM. And I did find that playing solo was a big help
Yeah.
in learning how to govern the game and learning how to control it and yeah, what to do when players do this and just being more creative on the fly,
Hmm.
because that's really what I mean, yeah, that's kind of what solo role playing is mostly about, is just on the fly creativity. And
Yeah.
it can be a daunting thing, I know. But one video series that I have watched from you a few times is your Runecairn
Hmm.
campaign.
Yeah.
And I think you said in one of your videos, I think you actually said like this is the most fun you had ever had with a solo, or you were pretty
Yeah.
stoked on on Runecairn. Um, what really struck you about Runecairn? What do you think was the reason why you were speaking of Runecairn? I know we've taken a look at Runecairn
Hmm.
before. This is from Odin's Beard. It is
Mine.
kind of a Dark
You'd have it in
Souls.
stereo. There we
Yes, there
go.
we go. Yeah, 3D. It's kind of a it's a hack of Cairn.
Hmm.
It's a Dark Souls. It's a Souls-like RPG, and it's kind of Viking based. So that's kind of like the broad strokes. But what is it about the game that really captured your imagination and your time?
Well, I'm weirdly obsessed with Dark Souls, even though I've not played the video game, but I really like the card game.
Hmm.
I was interested in the role playing game that was coming out. I got a
Yep.
magazine on it so I could read up on it. And until I read that the designer had said it's mostly for short campaigns or one shots. And I thought, 400 pages for short campaigns or one shots?
Really? Yeah,
I'm not going to fight through that.
I saw that at the store yesterday, and I was looking at it. I didn't realize that though. That's interesting.
That's one thing I did read that they said. And there were especially a lot of typos when the PDF came out. And
Hmm.
I thought, no, no. But I'd got Cairn, and I think through that I sort of found Runecairn. And it seemed to be the game I'd been looking for when I was looking at Dark Souls. Runecairn was actually the one that was for me because it's got all your solo rules, and there's a pre-written adventure for it
Yep.
to get you into the spirit of it. So it just sets you off on the right foot. The systems are all there to run it solo. The adventure creation, dungeon creation kit is all in there. Character reactions, monster tactics during fights. So it's all there for you, and it's all really simple.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and it's got a great atmosphere. I was looking for information about Brox because I thought they'd be part of the setting, the Scottish Towers, and I found the Caithness map, an interactive adventure map, and it said you could get a hard copy of it. So I sent off for this hard copy, and so I ran my campaign in Caithness on this adventure map. So it was just perfect. It all fell together. The rules, the setting, the mechanisms, all being in one
One
game.
book. Yeah,
It was
yeah,
just great.
yeah. That's really cool when that happens, and it's kind of I think it's a little rarer than I think we would like for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
When everything just hits, right? For me, that game is probably Scarlet Heroes,
Right, yeah.
um, because a lot like Runecairn, it has everything in one book.
Mm-hmm.
It's super well written. Kevin Crawford is a fantastic writer
Yeah.
of technical writer. He's just every book that Crawford writes, it hits me in that way. Like his style is just so it's direct, and I'm never at a loss of like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Sometimes with smaller indie games,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of empty spaces.
Yeah.
And Runecairn seems to kind of have that balance between like filling in enough empty spaces to where it gives you some direction to go.
You still got plenty of freedom.
Yeah, yeah. Have you have you run Runecairn with a group?
No, I thought about running it as a duet game, but I've not run a duet game. I'm not sure how I'd find it because I quite like a nice group of, say, 3 or 4.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think one-on-one, I'm not sure if it'd be my kind of thing, but I'm sure it would work well. The Runecairn would be perfect for that.
Is Runecairn? So I've never even read like how it plays with the group. I've only approached Runecairn from the solo perspective. So is it mainly for one-on-one play? Do you find
I think pretty much.
one PC and a warden? Yeah. So
Maybe
is
1 or 2, yeah.
so small groups or up to so kind of like Scarlet Heroes then. Um, Scarlet Heroes maybe a little easier to adapt to group play just because it's a
Yeah,
little more traditional OSR
yeah.
than Runecairn is.
Mhm.
But so you finished your solo play. What was it? The Scald. What was the character's name?
Ori the Scarred.
Yeah, already the Scald. And
Mhm.
do you ever take so you have this character, right? And he's gone through this adventure. Will you ever take that character again and put him in another game or continue his adventures in another setting or in another system or is his book closed?
I think his book is probably closed, but I have brought some characters back.
Yeah, wasn't there a gnome or
Yeah,
something? Yeah, yeah.
yes. I can't even remember his name now.
Yeah, what was his name? Like I don't remember either, but I remember you saying something like, "Oh, we'll revisit this gnome or
Yeah,
something." Yeah.
yeah. He's been requested to return a few times. So yeah, I like to think he's living a quiet life with his kobold friend
Uh-huh.
somewhere at the moment. But I always like to think that my characters have retired now and they're
Yeah.
chilling out,
Yeah.
put their dangerous life behind them to earn their
Exactly.
retirement.
Purchased some nice little cabin in the woods and
Mhm.
sitting around drinking tea and yeah, not having to worry about getting killed for gold.
Mhm.
One of the other things that we do have in common is we have some weird old games
Yeah.
that we like. Think we are one of the only two people who have this
Oh yes,
this weird thing. Yep,
it's
there
a
it
weird
is again.
thing.
I have actually never played my copy. I've looked at it, I've read it, I've gotten the stuff out, and I saw your video on it, or you were using the location cards, which you find
Yes,
really
I
handy.
think they're awesome.
For those of you who have not seen his video, so the game comes with quite a few decks of cards,
Mhm.
and so this is kind of it's like a boxed. It's like a. Would you describe this as it's a half board game, half starter RPG in a
Yeah,
box?
yeah,
Yeah, but it has these really nice location cards
very
that
atmospheric.
have some pretty good art. And there's all kinds of different locations, an old monastery, a well, a whispering rock, a courtyard, a dungeon, forest clearing. And yeah, you use these quite frequently to kind of generate some prompts.
Yeah, we use the bonfire token for
Yep.
all the most of the Runecairn videos, and it's really handy stuff in there.
Yeah, and I've seen the standees
Mhm.
on your channel at least 5 times.
Probably.
These are really nice standees. It comes with some cool little monsters and heroes. Yeah, these are fantastic. I absolutely love these. And I think we both, along with it's something I see that Deborah from Geek Gamers does a lot too, is kind of constantly looking at her shelves and pilfering different things from different games
Oh yeah.
to inspire you. So, uh, is that one of the reasons why you kind of gravitate towards these old weird oddities? Because you're like, oh, I could probably use something from that.
Sometimes. One I got recently was Dungeons of Demas, and I got it.
I don't even know that one.
Uh-huh.
What is that?
It's actually a British one. I didn't realize.
Dungeons?
This one here.
Wow, I've never seen that.
It's got some really nice. The standees I used in the last Runecairn video are from that.
Oh, okay.
And it's got some nice character cards and trap cards, item cards. But I bought it incomplete because I just wanted the stuff.
Yeah.
And the board actually looks quite nice as well. It's in 4 different pieces. And it's just nicely illustrated. But I will occasionally get a board game, an old incomplete board game, just to use the bits, or use bits from, I mean, the standees in Seven Moons would be great for anything. And so, yeah, I will happily pilfer any board game for bits.
Yeah. Seven Moons comes with all kinds of great things to use.
Yes,
it's like a box of cool things to use for other games.
Yeah, if you get the deluxe version was on sale for a stupidly cheap price. So yeah, metal coins,
you get
loads more meeples and
all those meeples, like for the witches and the dwarfs, and the hex map is small, but it has everything you would need to have a little campaign. You've got your town in the center with a dungeon off to one side and a magical forest. Yeah, it's like, here's a box of things to use for your other games. And I kind of wish there were more things sold with that being the purpose, right?
Yeah, and those that are in that sort of bracket could be cheaper than they are.
Yeah.
Because something like Arena of the Planeswalkers, that was a silly price, so cheap, and full of miniatures and hex maps. And
yeah, that was the Magic the Gathering board game that was sold at like mass market stores, right?
Yeah. And there's so much stuff in that you can use for everything else. I mean, I'm not going to play Arena of the Planeswalkers, but I use the miniatures for all sorts of things.
Yeah. No, I like doing that kind of stuff a lot. It's inspiring. Do you have any games that you keep only because of the stuff? Only because you use the stuff in other games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found Warhammer Quest Silver Tower on eBay without the miniatures.
Yep.
And so I was able to try it out and play it. But, all those tiles and cool stuff like that, I'm going to use it for all sorts of things. So it's really handy.
Yeah, I have like all of my miniatures from Massive Darkness and Zombicide up on a shelf because so many of those miniatures are so good for all kinds of things. But the games, the boxes, and the cardboard, it's all out in the garage. Because I don't really play those games anymore, but I like having those minis just in case, especially for skirmish games. All of the heroes in Zombicide Black Plague are great for like Frostgrave and all kinds of games. Do you ever? I was thinking. So sometimes in the Dungeon Dive Facebook group, somebody will post something that's old, and it always gets a lot of like, oh wow, that's like such a cool old game. But like sometimes it's just old, right? Sometimes it's old and cool, and sometimes it's just old. Have you ever what's an experience you've had where you've purchased a cool old game that you thought was going to be a hidden gem, and it was just nope, this is just this is just old?
Well, I had Rogue Trooper back in the day, and I got it again years later, and I still think it's good. I think it's a nice Runebound or Fallout or Zona style overland adventure, and I still think it's good. Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, when you after a couple of bits of novelty,
Yeah.
you soon realize that the solo rules are garbage.
It's not a game
No, it's not.
solo.
No,
It's not a game solo at
it's
all.
terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know, well, Chainsaw Warrior.
Yeah, that's barely a game.
Yeah, I described Crypt of Chaos as being Chainsaw Warrior done right,
Crypt of
because
Chaos.
yeah,
Which
it doesn't.
Oh yeah. Right.
Oops,
Yep.
it doesn't take up any time. Your characters are already set and ready to go.
Yeah.
Your game will be done within 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
And if you do win, it feels like a real achievement because you're just grinding down to nothing and your hit points are getting lower and lower. So I really like it.
The thing with Chainsaw Warrior is that the game can be over before you even start.
Yeah.
Because you roll up your stats, and if you don't roll a couple of sixes,
you're not hitting
sorry,
anything.
you're not going to do anything. So it's like,
no, it's
yeah.
To go when you have a game that is fairly brutal, and you have character creation takes up a bit of time, too much time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you could die on the first turn. You think there's no reason for this character creation to take this long for a game this brutal. There was a DCC game book that came out, and long intro, creating your character almost exactly the same as you would in DCC, but it's as fatal as anything. And so you think, I wasted an awful lot of time creating this character. Could I just have a pre-gen and then get stuck in and start getting killed by something? So it can be a bit much when there's all that elaborate setup, and then it's just like, poof, you're dead.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why when I look at a game like DCC and a game like Borg, which are both have a very similar level of lethality, I lean towards Borg because it takes like 5 seconds to make a character in Borg, or I could just go on a scum generator online and with a click of a button have print out like 20 different super simple characters.
Well, in our DCC games, we always just go to Purple Sorcerer and get a 0 level party printed off, and you're away. You don't have to roll anything.
That's kind of like the same thing. You can just print out a whole bunch of 0 level your funnel characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because if you took the time to make your characters in DCC,
it's not worth
it. Because my guy has -1 hit points. Okay, I'm already dead.
Most of them are supposed to die anyway. So.
Yeah. And speaking of Borg, there's a rumor that we might be playing Pirate Borg.
We shall see if I can get enough people interested. I know it's a niche of a niche kind of game. But, we'll see if we get some players together. It would be fun to do a one shot and see what it's like.
Yeah. So, what were you thinking of running that on? Were we just going to do that over Zoom or Discord, or were you? What's your plan for a worldwide, a global game of Pirate Borg?
I do have all the virtual tabletop assets for it because I backed it on Kickstarter. So I'm a little bit tempted by Roll20 if it will be practical and make sense. Otherwise, it will be Skype. So yeah.
So you have quite a bit of experience with Roll20 and various virtual tabletops.
Not really, no.
Yeah,
no.
Okay.
I run most of my games on Google Meet until it was after an hour you started to pay. So I'll just do it on Skype now.
Yeah. And when you do virtual gaming, is it typically kind of more theater of the mind, or do you like to show
Mostly.
things? Yeah.
I think with the basic fantasy, I had the dungeon. I shared the screen and had the dungeon in Paint Shop Pro, and I'd rub out the black covering to reveal the new bits. But for Mutant Core Classics, I think I did mostly Theatre of the Mind.
Yeah.
And just because it's easier. And Troika, I definitely did.
Yeah. I would be really curious to have you film one of your group sessions at some point to see how that goes. I wonder, would your players ever be into that, or is it kind of like that magic circle thing where when you're in a group setting, you want to be able to act a certain way, and you don't want that broadcast to the world, you know?
It depends on OBS, I think. I did talk to one of my groups about it, and they were fine doing it, but I couldn't get it to work. So, but if I could get it to work, I'd be okay doing it as long as the players were.
Yeah.
As long as OBS was playing ball, and I find it really difficult. You know, I managed to do a set of video game streams over the summer, and then the audio channels meshed together somehow, and it just got. I could search Google all day trying to extricate this and fix it, but I've got other things to do. So
yeah. I'm not an incredibly tech savvy person, so I also find OBS a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
I find Discord overwhelming.
I don't understand Discord at all. No.
It's like, why don't we just? What's wrong with a forum? Can't somebody just start a VBS forum and?
Yeah, keep life simple. That'd be nice.
So anything you're looking forward to, tabletop wise?
Well, I am very interested in Iron Falcon. Sorry.
Yes.
I've got a white box on the brain.
Yep.
Iron Falcon 75.
Yeah, so
Lakeside Adventures.
Tell us a little bit about that. I've seen the cover and I've been interested in it, and I saw you post that earlier.
I started reading it, and your characters are from 1975.
Okay.
And the world of myth and magic has been banished for so long, but now it's starting to creep back into the world, and your characters have to try and deal with it as it starts to come through, and all the monsters and everything. And you're, due to the magical stuff coming back, some of your characters will be able to cast spells and things. So it sounds really cool. I've not got very far in, but it sounds really interesting. Like a three adventure campaign in here to get you started. So,
is that a rules? Is it a rule system and an adventure, or is it? It's
a supplement for Iron Falcon.
Okay.
Yeah, and this one includes ascending armor class because Iron Falcon doesn't. So yeah, it looks kind of cool, and you can use modern weapons and equipment and stuff. So it sounds like a really fun thing.
So is it the world of magic is encroaching on our 1975?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's all starting to creep through again.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And what country is it set in, or is it?
It's set in the US, but it says you can set it anywhere. But yeah.
That is interesting. That is I've been curious about that, so I think I definitely want to check that out.
And this arrived today. Oop, it's a big old beast. Slay Industries.
And what is that?
Designed in Scotland. It's a dystopian future. You are employees or troubleshooters for Slay Industries, and in a city called Mort City on the planet Mort, and everything is owned by Mr. Slayer of Slay Industries. And just the cover art alone.
Yeah, it's a good, kind of like almost like it was that Red Skull from Captain America, or a pumpkin head looking guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So designed in Scotland, and I look forward to reading through that, finding out what it's all about. But the system sounds good. It's D10 system, so it should be fun.
So is a Scottish game, is that a kind of a rare thing? Is there what's the
I don't know of any others off the top of my head. So I thought, that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, I'm look forward to both of those. I just got a little zine game in called Notorious, kind of a sci-fi bounty hunting solo RPG. I think that looks pretty cool. And the creator for Rogueland. Have you looked at Rogueland yet?
No.
He sent me a copy of Rogueland. I know Deborah on Geek Gamers did a couple of videos on it. I know she really liked it. And I think it's one of the earlier kind of smaller indie RPGs probably came out around the same time as like Cairn and Into the Odd, but it's a little more robust than those.
Right.
It's probably somewhere right in between Cairn and Runecairn.
Hmm.
It exists, and it does have a lot of magic, but I think I think they're kind of like the spells in Fallen, where they're a little more narrative based and
Yeah.
not as mechanical. So
Hmm.
you kind of have to interpret what is happening. But both of those I'm looking forward to. And then I just bought I had this game a long time ago and I rebought it Last Night on Earth, the zombie game.
Oh yeah.
So
Fun.
so I had the first edition when it first came out and my group played it and we did not like it. But I've been watching some people play it solo on YouTube with some fan-made solo rules that people have made, and that kind of got me interested in the game again. So I went ahead and bought that. So I'm kind of looking. I don't really have a lot of zombie games, I don't think,
I've got quite a
which
few.
which is weird. I guess I have Carnival Zombie. I guess I have a few, but I really like Here's Negan, The Walking Dead. Here's Negan. I'm a
Right.
huge fan of that. I think that
Heard
game
some
is
good things about it.
yeah really under the radar.
Hmm.
But yeah, well, hey, thanks. That was a really fun conversation. Anything else? Anything else? So people should check out Stoneaxe Tabletop Gaming if you haven't yet. Paul does some really good, just really creative on the fly. I think what I like about your videos is that well, one thing I always like people that's just like a guy and a camera, nothing fancy, and you're not performing. It's a hey, here's I really get the sense that like when you watch Paul play a solo game that you are getting a true depiction of what solo role playing is like. And that could be a warts and all experience, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes you're like, oh man, what do I need to do? And
Hmm.
you can tell there's a cut and I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
how I don't know how long you sat there and thought what's the longest you've deliberated on? Do you know? Like, can you?
Not too long, only about a few minutes, but
Yeah, yeah,
I just have to stop the video and have a think.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Stand up, kind of walk around, go grab some water. Like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. I know sometimes that's why I don't do a lot of playthroughs because, uh, yeah, I'll sit there and come up against a brick wall. And I'll go, all right, well, I'm coming back to this tomorrow. But all right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this conversation between Paul and I, and we will talk to you later. Bye bye.